Nintendo and Pokemon have finally decided to sue Palworld. After all this time, Nintendo is finally going after Palworld. Now this is no surprise to anyone because Nintendo is known for suing people even if they sniff a tiny whiff of copyright infringement on their property. I wouldn't even trust painting your nails a Pokemon in each finger and going out in public without getting a lawsuit from Nintendo. And you gotta understand, Nintendo is a big company, so when they file a lawsuit against somebody, there's not really much that person or that company can do. In the case of Palworld, however, this is not a copyright infringement lawsuit, rather this is a patent infringement lawsuit. For those of you who don't know what a patent lawsuit would be in this case, to my understanding, it's anything that refers to like the gameplay or mechanics that have a certain process and play out in a certain way that can be traced back to a Nintendo game, in this case being Pokemon. Now what actually infringed on this is not really clear because Nintendo didn't actually say what the patent was that they filed in a lawsuit for, and not even the developers of Palworld themselves really know it. It says it here on the BBC. Nintendo and its partner, the Pokemon Company, filed a legal case against the maker of the hit survival adventure game Palworld over alleged patent infringement. Palworld quickly earned the nickname Pokemon with Guns when its first trailer was unveiled in 2021. Just days after the game's release in January this year, the Pokemon Company said it would investigate the copycat claims. Palworld's developer, Pocketpair Inc., acknowledged the lawsuit in a statement on Thursday and apologized to fans for any worry or discomfort caused. Pocketpair's boss previously said the game had passed legal checks, but Nintendo is known for fiercely protecting its intellectual property and brand. Pokemon said in statements posted on their website that Palworld infringes multiple patent rights. This lawsuit seeks an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages. Palworld became a major hit with more than 25 million players within a month of its release. Here's the thing that I find extremely unfair. Now, Palworld is an indie game at the end of the day. It's not a big company that developed this game. They don't have the money and resources to back up a lawsuit claim against them from Nintendo, one of the biggest companies in Japan. And I'm not really sure about the whole legal aspects of how this works with patent infringement, whether it be the US. But remember, this isn't even in the US, this is Japan we're talking about here. Not the makers of Palworld, Nintendo. So this, I'm pretty sure, would be under Japan's legal structure, though I am an idiot, so don't quote me on that. Earlier this week, Pokemon reportedly won a $15 million legal fight against several Chinese game developers it accused of infringing its copyright. Pocketpair, meanwhile, said it was truly unfortunate that as a smaller independent game developer, it would now have to allocate time and resources to the lawsuit rather than to Palworld, which is true. Pocketpair now has to devote a lot of time to try their best to win this case against Nintendo. Now, I want to have hope that Nintendo doesn't win this case, because if you actually look at Palworld gameplay, there isn't really, to the naked eye, a patent that has been copied from any Pokemon games. Pokemon is an IP that has been long since repeated and over again and dead, right? It's a huge name. It's very popular up till today because of the show, the card games and everything else. But the games themselves, like the video games, that's followed the same formula for a while. And it's not a formula that exists in no other game. Okay, capturing monsters, using those monsters in battles, collection, stuff like that, those are in a lot of other games. Digimon being the most clear example is a lot akin to Pokemon. And if we look at other games such as the Shin Megami Tensei series, that also follows a sort of collection for creatures and whatever, and having them fuse and combat and so on and so forth. I would only know from the Persona games, but as far as I know, Shin Megami Tensei also has a similar mechanic. So this isn't something exclusive to Pokemon in the terms of monster capturing and monster hunting. The only thing I could see as patent infringement to myself in Palworld that could fall under this lawsuit would be the ability to throw a ball to capture the pals, which is much akin to throwing a ball to capture the Pokemon. And whether or not the pals get captured or the creature gets captured is based upon its health, its level, its status effects, and whatnot. Right? So that's the only thing that really stands out as something that Pokemon can actually sue for. But at the same time, the entire premise of Palworld is inspired by Pokemon, but is completely different. Yes, you do capture monsters. Yes, you can make them fight for you, but there is also slavery of those monsters. You can make them do your bidding, work in your own personal gun factory. There's guns, mind you. Let's not forget that. And the key thing, like the key feature about Palworld is that it's not a like Pokemon-esque RPG game. It's a sandbox survival game. So there's building mechanics, there's survival crafting, there's all those things mixed in with these PAL mechanics. So I really see nothing that could possibly be patent infringement. And I'm pretty sure that Nintendo didn't either, because this whole thing took a while. Palworld has been out for a long time, and everyone had a theory Nintendo would sue them, but Nintendo never did. And although that was very hopeful for the creators of Palworld, in reality we saw they were just taking their sweet time to find at least one thing they could file against, at least as far as I think. We have yet to see what the actual patent they filed this lawsuit for is, because they never really say it and they refuse to say it. So I'm looking forward to hearing, because I'm really having high hopes that Palworld makes it through this lawsuit. I don't want Palworld to go to becoming a free-to-play game. And I also don't want it to be taken off the store. I never played Palworld yet. I really want to, but I think it's really cool what the developers did. They took a concept that's so old and so overused, and they turned it into something new and different. And it's not easy to do something like that. Now, the only thing about Palworld that really shares anything too close to Pokemon is the pals themselves. A lot of people have questioned the designs of some of the pals, taking direct inspiration from like Pokemon, but it's not exactly copying Pokemon. And even if you look at it that way, Pokemon themselves have done the same thing, but with other games. Their Pokemon is like, I'm pretty sure it was Dragon Quest? There we go. Dragon Quest 1986 and Pokemon 1996. You can see a lot of similarities. You can see a lot of similarities between the Pokemon and the Dragon Quest monsters. And let's be real here, they're not exactly hiding it. I mean, word for word, bar for bar, these Pokemon are straight up just like imitations of Dragon Quest creatures for a lot of them. And I'm not hating on that. I think it's fine. I think it's perfectly fine. They still have unique characteristics and things of their own. But if you can do it, so can other game developers. Gaming industry as a whole, as well as a lot of other industries, whether it be the movie industry or even content creation industry, all of that follows a pattern of people drawing inspiration from previously successful things. It's not good to copy something exactly. It's not good to directly rip off something, don't get me wrong, but imitation to the point of creating something new, because it always starts with imitation. You try to imitate or emulate something, and then you turn it into something unique by adding more to it, giving it its own personality. That's how it works. Movies, they do that all the time. There's a ton of movies that were inspired by older movies. Some movies that were inspired by anime. There are a ton of games that were inspired by other games. The craze of games like Call of Duty back in the day inspired a lot of other games that came out, and the craze of RPGs like Skyrim or World of Warcraft, especially World of Warcraft, inspired a lot of other RPGs to come out. JRPGs like Final Fantasy inspired a lot of those to come out. Imagine if an original JRPG, like the first JRPG turn-based game, patented turn-based mechanics. Do you see how stupid that would be? Nobody else would have been able to make that game. We wouldn't have the games we have today for a lot of cases. Imagine if Baldur's Gate patented their mechanics. It's something that I don't feel. I mean, I'm not going to say it shouldn't be allowed. People are allowed to patent what they want to patent, but I don't feel like it's really helping anyone to sue everybody that takes inspiration from you. But in Nintendo's case, they don't give a shit. Let's face it, Nintendo is a company nobody can compete with. Even in the gaming space, they are not part of the console wars. It's always Xbox versus PlayStation. The reason nobody mentions Nintendo is because people always have a reason to buy Nintendo. Because a Nintendo has something no other console has. Throughout the years, Nintendo's always had one thing no other consoles have. Whether it be the exclusives or whether it be the type of console it is. The Nintendo Switch is a console that's unlike any other console. It may be extremely limited power-wise, but it offers a lot in terms of its games. Its games are unique enough that people will still want to buy that console regardless. They also vary on the cheaper side because you can get a Nintendo Switch Lite, which is way cheaper than the regular Nintendo Switch and a lot cheaper than other current gen consoles. So it's always optionable to also buy that. So Nintendo always has something unique in some way or another. It doesn't make sense that they would fight an indie game developer and sue them for taking inspiration, because that indie game developer is not going to compete with Nintendo. Just because Palworld is such a successful game, it doesn't mean it's going to stop Pokemon from being a successful franchise. Pokemon moving forward, people will still question why Pokemon doesn't change, why Nintendo is lazy. And that's the fault of no one than Nintendo themselves. But people will still buy those Pokemon games because they still offer something to people that no other games do, which is the Pokemon. And Pokemon itself is a franchise that transcends its video games. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. I really hope Nintendo doesn't win this lawsuit for the good of Palworld and for the good of all indie game developers as a whole, because if one company can get away with doing something like this, suing a small indie dev for something like this when the game is clearly two different games, then I can't imagine what other companies will try to do in the future. Big companies are becoming a lot more dangerous these days and greedy, whether it be Disney, Nintendo, even Sony with the new PS5 Pro scam. They caring less about game developers and gamers and more about the money they're making, which is why indie developers exist. They are small companies, small groups of people that are really passionate about the project and delivering a game that's for people to play, that's for the gamers that people will enjoy and have fun with. I'm not going to say Palworld is marginally successful than Pokemon, because obviously it's not. But if you look at the success of Palworld and how far it's come compared to Pokemon, it's done more to the formula than Pokemon has in years. And that's the real thing troubling Nintendo, not the patent infringement. Nintendo couldn't give a shit about that. They are just troubled by the fact that this indie game developer did something better than them. Anyway, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you watched till the end, leave a like and subscribe and comment down below what you think on this whole situation. Also, let me know any other stories you heard for me to talk about, because I've been trying to do this new thing on my channel where I just cover some simple gaming news like this. I'm not going to go into hefty drama. I just want to cover news I'm actually interested in. I'm interested in this news. So yeah, bye.